Harlequin presents, and HarlequinAudio present, The Greek's Bartered Bride by Sharon Kendrick, performed by Alice Carax. For Eileen and George Ridderford, for all their help while researching the magical city of Venice, and also to Guy Black, for introducing me to the marvelous Ridderford family. Chapter 1. The cold blast of emotion to his heart was unprecedented and extremely unwelcome. Oblivious to the chill of the February day or the spray of the speedboat as it powered towards the shore, Odysseus narrowed his eyes to stare at the instantly recognizable skyline. La Serenissima, they called her. Venice. He had seen pictures of the place. The dark, silent waters, the intricate buildings which edged the canals, the spellbinding light, even in winter. At times he had even dreamt about it, but this was his first visit. His mouth flattened into a grim line. Surprising, really, given his ancestry. With the faint mist of rain clinging to his face, he tensed as the boat approached the Academia Bridge and once again found himself asking the question which had been plaguing him for weeks. Why the hell had he come here? To free himself from the ghosts which had haunted him for as long as he could remember? Or was it something more primitive? Something bone-deep and atavistic, but the Greeks had a very satisfying word. A word he could almost taste on his lips. Bitter and sweet. Ekvikisi. Revenge? No. His lips curved into a smile, which people always observed, never really reached his eyes. Revenge implied victimhood, and Odysseus had never considered himself a victim, despite the savage circumstances which had forged him and spat him out. This trip to his mother's homeland was motivated by curiosity, or perhaps that was too mild a description for something which felt like the drawing of a final line. A desire to meet with his only living relative before the old man died. "Siamo qui, signor," announced the driver as he anchored the bobbing boat and turned to his passenger, his gaze watchful. What did the boatkeeper see? Odysseus wondered, pressing a wad of notes into the man's palm before leaping from the boat with an athlete's natural grace. A powerfully built man with an unruly mane of dark hair who would have looked equally at home on a ramshackle old fishing boat? Or did he simply register the expensive clothes, the sophisticated exterior, which marked him out as one of the richest men in his native Greece and beyond? The costly coverings which hid the true nature of the man within. A man who women complained had a heart of ice, a man his rivals described as unknowable. The lone wolf, they called him, in the handful of the countries in which he operated, but he could live with that. In fact, he rather approved of the sobriquet, even though it wasn't intended to be flattering. His mouth hardened, but other people's approval had never been high on his wish list. The ancient edifice of his hotel was only a few steps away from the mooring, and the doorman sprang to attention as Odysseus walked up to the main desk. One of the female receptionists automatically pulled her shoulders back to draw attention to her breasts, but he failed to react as he signed his name. Registering her disappointment, he gave the ghost of a smile as she handed his passport back, and he headed for the elevator. Within minutes, he was established in a suitably lavish suite overlooking the Grand Canal, which his assistant had booked, along with the requisite costume for tonight's ball, which was hanging in the wardrobe awaiting his arrival. He cast a curious gaze over it, for it was essentially a fancy dress costume. But he had wanted a condensed Venetian experience, and this was all part of it. Satin breeches, a voluminous cloak, buckled shoes and a tricorn hat. And the mask, of course. An elaborate covering of the eyes which should guarantee him a certain anonymity. Not that anyone knew him here. Not even his grandfather. At least, not yet. He turned away from the wardrobe to study the milky waters of the lagoon. Tomorrow, he had an appointment to meet with Vincenzo Contarini, though he hadn't yet worked out what he intended to say. A pulse began to beat at his temple as he thought about all the things he could say. About how much blame and bitterness he could apportion towards the old man. But that was not his style. He didn't do emotion. He had learned to temper his reaction to things beyond his control because in every aspect of life, there was immense power and advantage to be gained from not reacting. But he
Sample complete. Ready to continue?